Hello, welcome to the Public Works Pipeline. I'm your host, Mike McKeon, and I'm a Lower Merion Township Commissioner representing Ward 3. We have a very special Kramer-centric show today featuring Commissioners Glida Kramer and Shawn Kramer. So Glida and Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Glida Kramer has been on the board a little longer, so we'll start with Glida. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Thanks, Mike. I'm a longtime resident of Ward 13. I'm also an attorney. I was elected Ward 13 Commissioner 3 years ago and was first Commissioner Kramer on the board, although I'm delighted to have a second Commissioner Kramer join me. Ward 13 encompasses part of Bala-Cynwyd, the Cynwyd part, as well as much of Marion Station. Near the center of the ward are the Cynwyd Elementary School and BC Middle School. Ward 13 includes many religious schools, including Marion Mercy Academy, Mesivta, and Kozlov Torah Academy, as well as houses of worship and historic sites, including the Marion Friends Meeting and the Academy Building. Union Fire Association, our volunteer fire company, and much of the Marion Cynwyd Business District also can be found in our compact, walkable community. In terms of what I've done on the board in 2020 and 2021, I chaired the Board of Commissioners Health Committee. I hope to look closely at the issue of food insecurity in the township, but then a couple months in, the pandemic hit. So most of my time in those 2 years with the Health Committee was devoted to dealing with issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of what I did was to inform residents about the latest information and vaccines and availability of vaccines. And I worked on developing our successful restaurant meals for food banks programs, which helped support our restaurants during the COVID shutdowns, and also simultaneously provided healthy cooked meals to residents who were experiencing increased food insecurity during the pandemic. Now I chair the Township Properties and Open Space Committee. For the last 3 years, I've served on the Sustainability Committee, and I also serve with the other Commissioner Kramer on two other very important committees, our Affordable Housing Committee and our American Rescue Plan Engagement Committee. But if I talk too much about any of those, I won't leave anything for my good friend and namesake, Commissioner Kramer, to say.
Yeah, you've certainly been very busy. I do have one follow-up question, though. I think you mentioned before that you worked tirelessly with your son when he was a kid to put together Star Wars action figures and play sets. Glida, do you have a favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, it's just so hard. I like them all.
Okay.
Han Solo, I think I kind of like Han Solo a lot. And Princess Leia is, of course, a role model for millions of young women. So I like her too.
Me
Fantastic.
too.
All right, and Shawn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes,
and
I am
you
also.
happen to have a favorite Star Wars character.
I do have several favorite Star Wars, so it's hard to choose. I'm partial to Princess Leia myself. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Leia. She's the coolest. Chewbacca also, because what's not to like, right? My dog is gonna be Chewbacca for Halloween this year.
And you're you're from Long Island originally, right? Hicksville, and you're also a Dodgers fan. How did that happen?
Yes, I am now a Dodgers fan. It's hard to explain, but it comes full circle, right? They started out in Brooklyn. My husband was born in Orange County and was a Dodgers fan from birth, and he just stuck with it even when he moved to Rockland County, New York. And now we're all in Dodgers Nation. Don't hold it against me.
And what have you been doing your first 2 years or so on the board as a Ward 8 commissioner?
Yeah, so I've been on just since January, so not even 1 year yet.
Right.
And it's been really great. Yeah.
So you're so experienced. I thought you've been here 2 years. Yeah.
It feels like
just 10 months.
Like 2 years. Right. No, it's been terrific. I've been really excited to be a part of the ad hoc Affordable Housing Committee and the ad hoc ARP Engagement Committee with my counterpart, Glida Kramer. and others. I'm also working on the library committee, the economic development committee, which is really exciting, and the admin and HR committee. Good times.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And so I was going to put both of you, but Gilda first. What do you do to stay in touch with your residents?
Well, I do a lot of things. One of the things that I do is to send out a periodic newsletter, usually about once every month, every 6 weeks, sometimes every couple weeks if there's really important things I need to get out. And that reaches sometimes, thousands of people because it gets forwarded, covers issues of interest in the township, what the Board of Commissioners are doing, issues about voting and how to vote. Because all of that changed over the last few years. And I also attend civic association meetings. So I go to the neighborhood club of Bala Cynwyd meetings and the Marion Park Civic Association meetings. And I think probably the best way that I keep in touch with the constituents is I walk Emmy, my miniature poodle, and she and I chat with people in the neighborhood, and that's when I find out what people are concerned about.
Is Emmy going to be able to say hello to us today? Is she around or?
Emmy is snoozing, and I could
Okay.
if you like, I can get her.
No, we don't need to disturb her.
But there's an old saying, let a sleeping dog lie.
Right. And Shawn, what do you do to stay in touch with your constituents?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page. It's Shawn for Ward 8. And I try to post neighborhood events on there frequently. I have a monthly newsletter, and you can sign up for that on the Facebook page also, or you can email me at Kramer with an E, not to be confused with the alternate spelling of Kramer, Kramer at Lower Marion. And I have a monthly Zoom call with my ward, and which is a really great informal way for people to ask questions and for us to just talk about what people really, really want to know about.
And Gilda, is there like an unknown gem in Ward 13 you'd like to tell the residents about?
There are a lot of very special places in our ward, but one that is a little bit lesser known is the Marion Friends Meeting. It dates back to 1695 and has a fascinating burial ground and beautiful cherry trees.
Yeah, and one of the things we like to do in the Public Works Pipeline is to really try to get on the scene for some reporting. So I'm headed out there now. There's a bus. I'm kind of a little nervous. Hey, but anyway, it gets a little hairy around here sometimes, but it's a beautiful old building. And Shawn, is there anything an unknown gem people should know about in your ward?
Well, the people. We have such an active community. We have lots of people that are volunteer firefighters and are with ambulance medics, and we have public school teachers that teach here in Lower Marion, and private school teachers, and public works and building and planning staff, and board members of various nonprofits. It's a very active, it's what you might call a hotbed of community engagement here in Ward 8.
Excellent. Yeah, and I know we see a lot of your constituents come out to our meetings and
Yeah.
contribute there as well. So
Yes.
At this point, we're going to move on to the Public Works mailbag. We have just all sorts of questions in here, and I'm going to try to work our way through some of them here. First one here is actually for Gilda. This is from a Dr. Lecter of Gladwin. And Dr. Lecter writes, I'm a longtime fan of the show and a retired psychiatrist living in Gladwin. I have substantial composting needs. What options exist in the township?
Well, I hope that there's going to be a lot more options in the next year or two, because we are hoping to have a pilot composting program. There are two really good options right now for composting. First, you can get your own compost bin at the township building, and you can do your own backyard composting. That's what we do. The other alternative is that you can contract with one of the commercial composting companies, such as Mother Compost or Bennett Compost. Those are two that I know of. That people have been very pleased with, and they will come to your house and pick up your compost bin and take your compost away and give you a clean bin every week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm sure Dr. Lecter, who's a frequent contributor to the show, will be looking at our pilot program for composting to see what happens. I do have one request, though, Dr. Lecter, if you're listening. We lost a census taker near your house a few months back. So if you wouldn't mind just coming down to the station and giving a statement when you have an opportunity, we'd like to really follow up on that one offline. Our next question here, this is for Shawn. This comes from a Dewey Decimal. And Mr. Decimal writes, can you please provide an update about the township libraries?
I can. We have a wonderful new director of the libraries, Lynn Williamson, who comes to us by way of the free library system in Philadelphia. So she's bringing a lot of great ideas from there.
Okay. And so what's your impression of the new library director?
I'm Commissioner Mike. I don't do impressions.
Okay,
But
yeah,
I
fair
do
enough.
find that she has a lot of wonderful thoughts about how to engage the community more around social services that we provide here. It's going to be a terrific collaboration between our nonprofit sector and the library system in the next year, I think.
Yeah, that's great. We also got a letter in from a Conan the librarian, but it was really off topic, so I'm going to skip past that. And we're going to have to cut to the break soon, but we did have one last question. Hopefully we can get through a little bit of it. This comes from a groundskeeper, Willie, of the Bala Middle School. And Willie writes, Commissioner Gilda Kramer, can you please tell me what kind of public works projects are going on in Bala Cynwyd?
Well, there are a bunch of them right now. We are delighted that we have a brand new crosswalk right across from West Princeton Road over to the middle school and elementary school. There are two other public works projects that are really planned for next year. The first is a redesign of the intersection at Levering Mill Road and Montgomery Avenue and the areas nearby. That's going to include eliminating the island and right turn yield lane and replacing it with a right angle intersection, and also adding a flashing light at Union Fire Station. The second one is to improve the intersection at Bala Avenue and Conshohocken State Road. And we also hope to start work on that in the early to middle part of 2023.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for the first segment. We got to run some of these commercials now, but thank you, Gilda and Shawn, and thank you everyone for watching. Please stick around. We'll be back soon. Hi, welcome back to the Public Works Pipeline. I'm your host, Mike McKeon, and I'm here today with Commissioner Gilda Kramer and Commissioner Shawn Kramer. So we're going to jump back in with the Public Works mailbag questions. And this next question comes from an Agent Johnny Utah. And Agent Utah writes, is Lower Merion ramping up its efforts to build a skate park? So Shawn, can you help respond to that?
It is, in fact, ramping up its efforts to build a skate park. Our Parks and Rec Department has identified a couple of sites that it's looking at. It wants to make sure that the skate park is available, is accessible by public transit, so kids can get there without needing a ride. And we're hoping that we'll be able to get one in this year. We have some money in the budget for it. This year, meaning 2023.
Right.
It's coming. Yeah.
And that's fantastic. And I've seen the interest in the community has really skyrocketed recently. I think I'm pretty well known in the community as an avid skateboarder, and there's lots of videos around where you can see me doing all sorts of moves and maneuvers and whatnot. It's nice to see other people who may be becoming almost as talented as me. But there's a group called lmskate.com. And they have a survey on their website. So I would encourage people, if you're interested, get involved. That's a citizen-driven group, and they've made a real concerted effort to try to move this process along. And the township is looking into sites, which is great, and budgeting funds to make this a reality.
Yeah.
So our next question here is about the American Rescue Plan funding, and it's very open here. What can you tell us about the American Rescue Plan funding? And I'm just going to ask Commissioner Gilda Kramer, she can talk first because she was on the board for what's already happened. And then perhaps, Shawn, you can talk about what we're going to see coming down the road.
Sure.
Well, last year we allocated about close to the first half of the 25.6 million that we received in American Rescue Plan Act funds. And most of what we allocated went towards rebuilding the Ardmore Avenue Community Center and the Palm Building. We also put money towards renovating Ashbridge House, which houses New Horizons and also seniors programs, and also towards renovating the Bryn Mawr Community Center, which houses ElderNet. We also included some money for high quality masks that were distributed through the school district at the height of the pandemic last year, and some funds as well to do work on the desperately needed sidewalks on East Levering Mill Road. So we didn't allocate everything. We left a fair amount of, we put some money towards stormwater also. And we left a lot of the money unallocated so that we could really take a good hard look at the human needs as well in the township. So I'm going to turn it over to Shawn to talk a little bit about what our ARP engagement committee has been doing this year.
Thanks, Gilda. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with Commissioner Kramer and Commissioner Stevenson and Commissioner O'Neill on the engagement committee. What we wanted to do was to respond to feedback that we got from the community that we received during the last round of funding allocations, that they wanted to be more involved in giving feedback about what they wanted to see the money spent on in the community, particularly regarding socioeconomic needs and people that were disproportionately affected by the COVID pandemic. So we did just that. We hired Triad Consulting Services to come in and do a pretty thorough community survey. They solicited hundreds of survey results from people all around the community, including people that aren't typically engaged by the township or with the township about their needs. So that was really exciting. We had a public feedback session. And we also had a questionnaire available online for people to, or the survey available online for people to comment on. The consulting service also looked at our survey, our census data and other background information to get a sense of what the socioeconomic needs were. And they drew up a really helpful and comprehensive report that told us where we could spend money if we wanted to address socioeconomic needs with ARP funding.
And I believe we got about $25 million in the American Rescue Plan funding. We allocated about half of that, so close to 12.5 million or so with the first half that was largely on capital projects. And now we've got the remaining 12.5 million or so approximately. Is there a timeline in terms of how long we have to allocate those funds?
Yeah, so I think we have to say where we're going to spend the money by the end of 2024, and then we have to have actually spent the money by 2026. So we have a little time still, and we're trying to work out, the engagement committee is working on recommendations to make to the finance committee to consider for, how to allocate that money in the strategy for allocating money in a process that can be like transparent and available for the community to understand.
There are there are just so many important projects and for us to choose from that it's really hard to figure out what are the most important. That's part of what we're trying to do. Some of the things that we're looking at are funds to improve the operations of POM, additional funding for the Ardmore Avenue Community Center and the Bryn Mawr Community Center and Ashbridge House, and putting money towards affordable housing, including an expansion of the Ardmore House. We applied for and got a $3 million grant from the county towards that project. But we're going to need to raise another 9 million or so in order to be able to do that project. We were also looking at programs to provide dental and behavioral health services and aid to nonprofits that are helping residents or aid to residents who are hurting still because of the pandemic, and continuing efforts to address food insecurity and lots of other options.
And the nice thing is, our hands not forced, but we have to make a decision on the rest of that funding within a week or two. So I think the community should be encouraged by the fact that there is plenty of time for robust discussions and other meetings to go over and really make sure how to best allocate the remaining funds, which are very substantial. Our next question here, this comes from a Rick C. From Penn Win. And Rick writes, what are some upcoming events in Ardmore and Ballackinwood?
Well, there's an Ardmore Master Plan community meeting coming up on November 17th, and the details of that are TBD, but I hope that people will participate because that's a really exciting process, and I can tell you more about that if you like.
Well, what is the master plan? Just pretend I'm an idiot. I don't know what a master plan is, but what is the master plan?
Yeah, sure. So it's a look at downtown Ardmore as a whole, for planners, in our planning department to say, like, if we want to think about how to make this a cohesive downtown that really works and is walkable and is easy to get around and is inviting and encourage, welcoming to everybody, what would that look like? So they're looking at transportation, public civic spaces, walkability, and they're getting lots of feedback from the community about it.
Oh, great. And Gilda, any events like in November that you're aware of?
Well, I think the most important event that we all have in November is Election Day, which is November 8th. Make sure that you vote either in mail or in person. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And there will also be a drop box located at Ludington Library for you to deposit your completed mail-in ballots. The Bala Cynwyd Library Concert Series is going to present a lovely concert by a renowned harpist, Bridget Hibby, at the Levering Mill Tribute House located at 382 Bala Avenue on Sunday, November 13th at 2 p.m. And I hope everyone will join us.
Oh, great. Okay, our next question comes from a Joey the dog, and Joey writes, aside from pooping on the lawn of the Ward 3 commissioner, what are some other good things for dogs to do in Lower Merion? And then he signed it. You can see his paw prints here. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, one of mine is making noises now that you're talking about him. My two miniature poodles, Fala and Emmy, have really enjoyed walking on the Cynwyd Heritage Trail and visiting with all the children at General Wayne Park. We haven't tried the township's two off-leash parks, Rolling Hill Park and West Mill Creek Park, because many of the dogs are much larger. One of Emmy's very favorite things to do is to go to the Bala Cynwyd Farmers Market in the GSB parking lot at the St. Asaph's and Belmont Avenue on Saturday mornings, and the Bryn Mawr Farmers Market opposite Ludington Library. Both markets are open from 9 to 1 p.m. Fala has enjoyed working in local libraries and nursing homes as a therapy dog with Pals for Life, and Emmy is in training to do the same, though she needs to learn not to talk to bunnies and vacuum cleaners.
Yeah, vacuum cleaners can be very distressful. So so your dog Luna, right, Shawn? What does Luna like to do in Lower Merion?
Yeah, Luna is a big dog. So she's a golden retriever. So she loves to go to West Mill Creek and Rolling Hill Parks. Those are her favorite things to do. She never wants to leave. She loves to go in the creeks and roll around in the mud. But we're very excited because there's buzz from the Parks and Rec department that they are looking at a site for a third dog park. And I'm kind of hoping that they build one near Ward 8, in or near Ward 8. So I will let you know.
The two dog parks.
We're sort of hoping for one near in Bala Cynwyd. So
Yeah.
Everyone wants one.
Yes.
Okay. And our last question here as we wrap up the show, this is just for Gilda Kramer. It's Gilda, what does the Open Spaces and Township Properties Committee do?
Well, the first thing that we're doing this year is inventorying all of the open space, both owned by the township and other open space in the, where we've been mapping it. And then we're going to sit down and look at priorities and what we would like to do with the existing open space within the township. So this is really a strategic planning year or two right now.
Yeah, excellent. I appreciate that. I know you took over as a chair from Commissioner Shawn Whalen was handling that before. So be exciting to see what comes down the road. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for the Public Works Pipeline today. I want to thank Commissioner Gilda Kramer and Shawn Kramer. Thank you very much for coming out today. And thank you everyone for watching.